Yo, 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 yo. What's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads, and especially all you gardeners out there? This is Mr. Weedman and Big Earl with the Grow Hour. Big Earl, my brother, how you doing?
I am doing awesome, dude. How are you doing?
I'm super stoked, man. I'm super stoked because, and I think you know why. Because I'm going to get baked with my good buddy, Big Earl. Super stoked, brother. How you been?
I've been well, dude. How have you been? I've been in the garden a lot. How
I
have you been?
know we talked yesterday during the podcast practice, and you were talking about how much you were working on your plants, and then today working on your plants. Tell me a little bit about what you got going on right now. Some of your while we're smoke session right now. Talk a little bit about what you got in the hopper coming out. Any new breeds? Any new stuff you got coming out right now? Any new launches you got coming out right now while we smoke? I'm smoking Yeet. This is grown by me. And what are you smoking on?
Blueberry sangria. Not my
I'm
selection, but I grew it.
fucking fired up to smoke that when you come back over to the fucking his house. I'm so fired up, man. When you told me you grew that, I was like, oh yeah, I'm fucking fired up.
It was a good selection too. Whoever made the selection was a good selection.
Oh man, I'm stoked. I can't wait. I can't wait to fucking try that, brother. I'm really serious. But I mean, all that lineup. What else you got coming out? What else you got coming down the pipe?
I've been doing a lot of my own testing. So like the whole Stanky Haze line's finally down. Gonna be dry here soon. We got a nice sour strawberry preservation I just started that's looking really, really nice. The male is just getting pink little freaking ball sacks and has red petioles, which is just the stem between the leaf and the main stalk. And it's just strong and bushy, and it's a bog preservation, bushy old grower. He was an awesome guy. I never had the chance to meet him or do anything like that, but he was an awesome dude in the industry and did a lot for the plant. And I'm super excited at these plants, honestly, because the seeds I have are like 7 or 8 years old, something like that, and they pop so fast. They're all very strong. But yeah, and I got some other photos. There's every tray is just full of these testing this, testing that.
And lots of fun stuff, man. The pictures you've been throwing out on Insta has been insane. I mean, just like the colors and this, I can't smell anything. All I can look at is the colors and the way the trichomes are and the way that everything is looking. It's just been amazing. If you haven't checked out Big Earl's Instagram, Earl217, or I Am the Real Regal Beagle, I'm telling you right now, take a look at those beautiness of pictures he posts almost every day. It's wonderful looking at your stuff because it's so pretty, So, but the last episode we just did, it's not out yet. It'll be out soon. The one we did with Alabrije and Hummingbird. What a fun show we had with those two knuckleheads, man. They were fucking great. Oh my God, a lot of laughs, a lot of great information about autos and about fem autos and just what they got coming down the pipe and what you've worked with them on and with Hummingbird. Dude, just a great show. So hopefully everybody enjoyed that roundtable discussion. And we're going to have them both back on their Burping in the Bag episode. So we're super stoked to have Hummingbird back on and then Alabrije and talk about some new stuff that they want to talk about on their Burp in the Bag episode. So hopefully everybody are enjoying the roundtables and the Burping in the Bags and all the fun stuff we've been doing lately. I mean, it's just been such great shows and great guests we've had on. And you and I don't get to really do our own shows. So when I get to do one with you like this, our just the straight Mr. Weedman and Big Earl show, it's special now because we are booked up for the whole year with guests. Few of just Big Earl and I doing shows, but more and more guests coming on. So hopefully you're enjoying the Grow Hour and what Big Earl and I are putting together and just having a whole hell of a lot of fun. Just getting baked with my buddy and just talking weed. Can't beat it. on a Monday night.
It's been great, and like our guests have been great, and it's been like everything's been so much fun, dude.
Yeah, it's been awesome, man. So this one, we're going to talk about how to determine a good run, a good home grow run, a good caregiver run, or something that you're doing. And if we have a little time too, we'll revisit some clone. We're going to talk a little about what Big Earl is doing on some clone if we have some time in the show. If not, we'll bring it back up. But so determining a good run is not only what you are producing compared to others in a similar conditions or situations, but how well your garden is currently performing compared to your average.
Yeah.
So, what Big Earl is going to be talking about is been running through like kind of like what a good home grow run will get you between weight and quality, between your lighting, between as we never forget airflow that we'll talk about in a little bit, and then also like the cost of it all, like what you should be like basically.
Expecting or
Yeah,
thinking you're going
what's
to
coming
spend.
out of your bills? Not only just your normal everyday household bills that you pay for, but what it costs to run a good grow, and what that's going to cost you. And somebody like Big Early has been a caregiver for a long time now, is going to break down some numbers for you too, which is really really cool because I don't think we've ever talked about any of this before, and to really see what you may or may not be spending for your home grow, because it does
Yeah.
cost money, and what your yield should be or can be by being a home grower, and what your overall expense will be versus what you're going to what you're going to get back in that yield you grow. Plus also we're going to talk a little about some quality, which I'm super stoked about, because quality is key when you're growing your home grow and you want a good grow. I mean, we always make jokes like, hey, you just plant it, you're going to get something. But there comes that point where you get to that point where it's, where's the next phase of my grow can be. Like when I first started home growing, I knew the first 3 or 4 grows weren't going to be the great. I got good weed. I'm not going to lie. I got decent weed. I got good weed. I got an okay weed. But when I got better at it, I saw the the yield, but I also saw the quality get better
Yeah.
because I learned and learned and read and learned. You gave me a lot of good knowledge and people who I've listened to and read more about. But watching each grow get better and better is such an experience, to where you know when you're kind of getting there, or you may or may not, or should be there by then, so
Yeah.
you'll know by when you smoke it and you smell it and you touch it and you taste it. So let's get into this, will you? Let's talk. Enough talk for Mr. Weedman. Let's Big Earl go into weight versus quality. It's more than just weight, but let's start there, Big Earl. Let's talk about it. I'm going to be able to get bake on this show because I don't know shit. So this is all you, my brother. Have fun at it.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about weight. Everybody talks about weight, gram per watt, which is what we're going to talk about mostly because I think a lot of our audience is more of that basement grow, home grow caregiver type audience. But square foot, how many grams you have per square foot is what a lot of the larger gardens look at. But quality, it's this market now. You have to have the best, no matter. There might be some areas out there where the black market's very heavy, or it's really hard to get California weed or whatever. I'm not saying anything about anything. I'm just saying, if you don't have really good weed, good luck getting it, like being able to do your craft. Um, that's all that I can say about that. So um, we're going to start with weight. How to increase your grams per watt. We talked about this a little bit, but we're just going to go into it a little bit more. Give a little bit more info. So a gram per watt is how many grams of finished product, smokable, finished, not your bottom fluff if you didn't clean up good enough, not stuff that burned on top, smokable, finished, not your trim product, not wet. I see people sometimes when I was in the shop would come and be like, "Oh, I just hit this number," and I'm sitting there, I'm like, "What the fuck?" And they give me their wet grams, and I'm like, "Oh, well, this is wet, dude. Divide that by 9." Or whatever it is. So yeah, it's your dried, usable, smokable flour. Um, so one
Now,
way,
is that dried after you hang it and dry it, or is that cured dried?
I mean, I think you could say either one of those. I think realistically, it'd be like sold dried. Like if it cured for a month and it's sold, then that's that's when you're comparing your prices. If you're selling the cannabis, or if you're on the other side of that, your home grow is in smoke dried. If you're smoking it in 1 year and it's really really dry, then you might want to change some things up a little bit and try to pump out more harvests.
There you go.
Um, a lot of this stuff. So I do know in our past stuff when talking about building our grams per watt, we never brought up a guy who has a lot to say about that, and that is Dr. Bruce Bugby. Um, he goes in scientifically. If you guys want something really fun to watch, Maximizing Cannabis Yields with Dr. Bruce Bugbee. It came out like 3 years ago. He claims in there anything over a 1.5 EC is going to give a salt stress on your roots. We run way higher than that generally. My flushes
What
are like
is real quick? What does EC mean again?
electrical conductivity. It basically is measuring how thick your water is. There is a parts per million conversion. The reason we use EC, and we've gone over this too, but we'll go over it again. The reason we use EC is because when you talk about parts per million, there are different levels of parts per million. So when you're like, oh, I run this 1,300 parts per million, well, you might be running on a 500 scale or a 700 scale. And different nutrients use different scales and different. So, like, when you're talking to somebody, you might be talking way different amounts. But if you use EC, it's just the same across the board. Um, and we do that, and we still do that with this information. I still do that with this information. As stupid as that sounds, it's just kind of like a what worked for me thing and how I learned. And when I dial it back to that 1.5, I start to see deficiencies. But I run in 1 gallons and try to grow big plants out of 1 gallons, and they have a very small root structure for that whole plant. And so I'm just assuming that in my setup, it's less than ideal if you're trying to grow the healthiest plant. But for me, it's not as much work and it beasts out. So it's like it works for me, you know. So until Bruce Bugbee came through and found that, like, scientifically, it's all in that video. It's really awesome. Again, Maximizing Cannabis Yields with Dr. Bruce Bugbee. YouTube. Whenever you get done checking out the Weedman 420 YouTube, you can go over to the Maximizing Cannabis Yields YouTube. um,
Good
so
shout out, Big Earl. Good shout
yeah,
out.
yeah, there you go. Same platform. It's super easy, guys. So we do this, and a lot of people still do this because that's what the nutrient companies tell us to do. When you go in and they're like, put in 12 milliliters of this per gallon and 5 milliliters of this per gallon and 7 milliliters of this per gallon, if you actually measured it out, it's coming out in the low twos every time, every time. And that's, my experience with like 13 or 14 companies at least. If I was ballsier, I'd say closer to two dozen, 20, mid 20 companies, like a lot of nutrient companies I've run through. And it's all pretty similar, low twos. So then we're like, hey, this is what we need. And I think a lot of the times when we see that burning, or when we see those tips or we see deficiencies, it's really caused from burning, and then we want to add more. And Bruce says that's what he thinks too on his show. But it's just kind of how we've done it, and you can't blame people that they get really good results. They say, well, I know this is the science, but this is what I'm doing. We all know you change one little thing in your garden, and it could be everything could change. You might have to change a lot of stuff.
And is that like are you talking about in a bigger garden, a change, like someone's grown 1 or 2 plants? Will it really change that much?
I mean, so it's like maybe not, but if you're growing 1 or 2 plants and let's say you don't have very good air exit because you don't need it, and then you double up your plants, or you're watering, you just any little thing, you add a little bit of power, take more air out. All the little things can just, so even when we're talking about something as simple as EC, to me, I might not be able to recognize what it would do, but I would imagine that something's going to change, and there's some kind of something. I'm just going to have to be on the lookout for anything that changes in my garden, because there's so
Gotcha.
many little things, like the time of day that I water to compensate so I don't overload my DHU, because when I overload my DHU, it hits the plug it's on. And so if I can spread, it's just like stupid little things that everybody's garden is going to be a little different with.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So, and if there might have been somebody before him, and I just don't know. That's just the things I've seen. I know he's very popular in the cannabis industry. That's what I heard from. He's also who with that EC, he runs a 10% runoff, but he doesn't ever do a flush.
Yeah, when I read that, I was like, whoa, okay,
Yeah, so it's a really
different.
low EC. I'm assuming it probably does do a little salt buildup, but I believe he said like when you get up over that 1.5, like there's if you're flushing out, um, that you're just get stressing your plant. And we do stress our plants like on purpose. So that might be a reason that somebody's seeing some kind of increased quality in their plants because there's a stressor. That might be something really stupid to say, you just never know. I know that people use stressors like insect frass, I believe, is one of them where it tricks the plant into thinking it's being attacked by bugs. It's like shells of bugs and stuff.
And
Uh,
is that because it'll bring out the trichomes more, the to keep like because
Stress
it's thinking it's being
defense.
attacked, so it's throwing out more trichomes to keep the bugs away or from
Yeah,
eating it, or maybe deer or anything like that. So is it so it's just throwing out more and more juice right into those
exactly right.
trichomes, the scent and stuff. That's pretty neat. I
Yeah,
fucking had no clue.
yeah, and there's little things like that where it's like, well, when we talk about getting our LEDs really close, well, that's like a lot of times you get those trikes building as like a sunburn prevention kind of thing. If you thought about it with us, um, and so when you change a stressor like that, you might notice, you might say, well, shit, if I bring down my EC, my quality goes down. And that might be because you're taking a stressor out that wasn't killing or destroying your plant or hurting it that much, but was hurting it enough to boost an immune system or something. Just, I mean, who knows? All kinds of crazy shit happens in the garden. Um, and so I talked about before how I run like a 2.2 on average, like from a 2.4 to like a 2.0. But I do 15 to 20% runoff. I do flushes. I cover my EC. If my EC gets up or over like a 2.7, 2.8, I flush pretty good. Um, and I do see burning on the tips of my leaves. And it's stupid to say, hey, this is burning. That's what's best for them. But I follow that kind of as an indication, if that makes sense. I'm saying, hey, I'm really close to this line, and I know I'm pushing it a little bit, so I'll drop it back a little bit. But I usually wait to see that until I drop it back. And if I was a better gardener, I would, be able to predict that. But I run different cultivars every fucking run, so it's like it's hard. But a better gardener could probably predict that better, you know. So, or if I was running a lower EC, I definitely try that.
How do you get the EC lowered? Like, how do you lower your EC?
That is the flush.
Okay.
So there's two different ECs. There is going to be the EC of the water going in and the EC of the water coming out. To
Oh.
tell if you have a buildup, you know what's going in, you measure what's going in, and you compare it to what's going out. So if you usually run a 2.0 EC and you say, okay, I got 2.0 going in, and you're measuring coming out, it's like a 3.5. Well, that's a average of what's going in also. So you can assume that your soil is sitting higher than that, and you need to flush it and flush it. And that's what, like when I flush, sometimes my flushes are 8 or 9 days, and sometimes my flushes are like 4 or 5 days, like my straight just water flush. And it all depends on what's coming out of the pot.
So are you measuring your water before you pour it in with your EC, the thing that you told me to buy, the blue lab thingy that has the EC and
Yeah,
measurement in there, right? That
yeah,
thingy that I fucked up on 2-3 times.
that is the
if, you,
one.
if you listen to the Grow Hour, you've heard the story, so I don't need to tell it again. Uh,
That is the one.
and then you catch the water when it's coming out, and you measure it again.
Yep, yep. And that will tell you your buildup and
Okay.
eliminating that buildup. This is all talking about weight. I think a lot of people are limited by their salt buildup, their burns. According to Dr. Bruce Bugby, almost all of us probably are. But I think a lot of people are probably a little bit more than they know. And so being able to read that runoff, being able to know, hey, you can, less is more. And you would be amazed by when you get that right, your plants will take off.
And that's since I've gone organic soil, I less is definitely more for me. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, I do add nutrients, but very, very like less. Like I probably give because I'm running soil. I'm not doing nutrients every day at all, and I don't even
Yeah.
water the plant every day. And I mean, I probably my watering cycle is like every 2 days most of the time, especially you're doing the old finger test or you have your little meter or
Yeah.
whatever, but 2 to 3 days. So on that cycle, what I do, this is just what I do. I remember my first couple of grows, I over nuded the shit out of it. So, and then talking with you and then listening to Alabrije and Hummingbird and a few other people, and especially Alabrije, less is always more. And he talks about
Yeah.
autos, but I even think too,
Especially
when
with
you're running, yeah. And I think with soil too, I think less is definitely more. And
sure.
especially organic soil, when you're doing a 70-30 mix, like I do, 70 soil, 30% cocoa, I do a lot less on the nutrients and I see a way better plant because I'm not over, and I'm talking about like I'm not even putting a shit ton of nutrients in my water. I mean, I think I'm giving it just the right amount to where it's thriving in a better productive manner from what I've seen. Like I might be talking out of my fucking ass, but I'm getting good yields and I'm getting good quality bud because
Hell yeah.
I'm not giving it more than it's just like a human being. If you eat more, what happens? Then your body doesn't do anything with it. Either stores as fat,
Or
and
it's
you
broke.
fucking have no energy
Yeah.
because you're eating stuff that your body doesn't need to take calorie wise. So the kind of way I look at a plant, yes, it's different species. Of course, I understand that, but I look at the way I treat my body is the way I want to treat my plant,
Sure.
kind of thing. I don't know. Like I said, I could be talking out of my ass.
Well, that doesn't surprise me at all, dude. Because again, according to Bruce Bugby, who we're gonna just be, kind of using his information as a baseline here. 400 parts per million is sufficient, and that's pretty much the air outside. So if you guys are breathing downstairs, your parts per million and CO2 are probably decent in there. Did you add that mushroom bag?
Yeah,
That
first grow
definitely
with
has a
it.
decent in there. And so your
Yeah.
plant's you're probably running a really nice EC lower than most, and that's what you're seeing exactly what Bruce was saying in the maximizing cannabis yields video. You know, but that could be another reason too. We say every little thing can change stuff. I run in my garden like it swings between like 1100 and or maybe 1200 and 600. I think I have a 300 point swing on not set on 900. So it goes up to 12 and then drops down to 6, then turns back on and goes up to 12, then drops down to 6. Um, and so that might be something there too, to where it's like pumping a ton of par, pumping a ton of CO2, and then it just needs that extra food, that little bit above the 1.5. Or that
Hmm.
might not matter at all. I don't, because he also on that same video goes over like DLI, daily light intake, and different things that like make pumping light at your plant maybe not do much except for stress it. So above a certain DLI, and so it's like I don't know, but I can see the CO2, the higher CO2, definitely doing something. The more light, I don't know. I don't think it would matter much.
Gotcha.
But
So making sure you're looking at your actual wattage into light.
yeah, and we've talked about that a little bit to where every day, guys, I'm not even kidding you. The last 3 lights that went out on me they're under a warranty, 5 year warranty. I've had them for a year and a half, 2 years. They'll want the shop I got them from is closed, so they're like, "Well, we need a receipt." The one model hadn't even been out for longer than like 3 years, and like, we need a receipt. And I was like, "This model is not 5 years old." I get the receipt. I send it to them. They still want like they aren't honoring their warranties, and they're
Mm.
doing this by getting bought by other companies. Sometimes these other companies are owned by the same people who own that company. I don't know. I'm just talking about the companies that I've been dealing with, and so it's a reason we've talked about building your own LEDs. These people are only really giving you like a 6 month or 1 year warranty anyway. At least that's what the last people were like. Oh, well, it's actually only 1 year for a free exchange. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's under warranty. I get a free light. Like, well, we have to pay cleaning and shipping. And I was like, dude, it was so bad. We don't have to go into that, but um, yeah,
Just
it's
make sure you get a good warranty.
well, I don't even know if the warranty matters anymore. But
Oh
a lot
man.
of these light companies, what they do are, there's two sides of this. So those are the really nice light companies that was just talking about. They're like, ooh, 5-year warranty, 10-year warranty. They're like throwing that word out there. It doesn't mean shit. Um, and then there's the other side of this where these companies are calling it like the TS1000 or some shit, and then they're like it's equivalent to 1,000 watts, and or it's a and you're like okay. First off, I think we said something like 1,000 watts of what? Because not 1,000 watts of HPS. The thing's like 300 watts or something. The brightness, the lumens, with something that doesn't matter. They're comparing. They're taking people. So look at the actual wattage that comes from the wall, because that might be where you're at. If you're like, I can't get this weight, I've got the TS1000, and I hope that's not the name of a light out there, and I'm just calling somebody out or something. I got the whatever that's completely made up. I got the Weedman 1000, and you go in there and look, and you're like, well, this Weedman 1000 only pulling 300 watts from the wall. What the fuck? And it's talking about it's whatever it is, or it says 1,000 watts on it, and then when you look close, it says comparable to 1,000 watts, but the 1,000 watts is big. So look at that, because I think most people who have a normal purchase light online or in a normal tent can probably up their power a little bit. If they're perfecting, if they go into it and everything's good now, and then they're starting to perfect stuff, taking that power up a little bit is
Way
never
to
a bad
go.
way.
Never a bad way. Well, you were saying too, I was looking at this other thing we were talking about. If you're running a normal light purchased online in a tent, like me, and want more weight, what do you got to do?
Fuck, dude, everything. No, if you're running a light in a tent, and you're trying to up the weight, the airflow always huge. Don't forget that. If you're pumping CO2 or doing CO2 or something like that, um, if you're not doing airflow, then your plant isn't able to really absorb it in a lot of the areas. But you got to get that
With
air moving over it.
with the CO2, I really enjoyed having the mushroom bag because I don't have the kind of money to buy a CO2 tank and pump
Yeah,
CO2. And I mean, I wish I did one day, but the mushroom bag for $30 and it lasts 9 months,
yeah.
banging.
I bet it lasts longer too because it's really as long as that grows and it doesn't turn brown. And I had tons of different samples from different people, and they were all super like pretty com- comparable. And some of them last like a year and a half, maybe even longer. It was
I'm
cool.
hoping I'll be growing the next one soon. So hopefully that bag is still good. But even like I said, for $30 and it lasts me a full grow, it's great.
Yeah,
I was happy with it. So thing
but
was like just pure white all around the fucking whatever it's in there. It wound up turning all white.
yeah,
So it was
yeah.
looking good. So
Like
what are we supposed to never forget?
we're supposed to never forget airflow. We know that. You never forget airflow. Everything we're talking about doesn't even matter without airflow. If your dehumidification can't get from one side of your room to the other, if your CO2 can't get from the bottom of your tent to the top of your tent, maybe not the top, but up to your plant. If your heat is building up somewhere and you got 90 degrees one place, 70 degrees another place, there's not shit you can do. You have to get that air normalized and mixed and together. But as far as growing more in a tent, so here's to grow more in a tent. We've talked about
Tell me, tell
upping
me. I want
the
to know how to
gram.
grow more. I
Grow
want to know
more,
how to
grow
grow
more.
more. More
Um,
weed, more weed.
so if we break this down for what I would do, and so right now I run 1,800 watts in a 32 square foot area. Okay, that's a 4x8, and I run 1,800 watts of LED over that. My parts per million CO2 bounces just like I was saying from 12 to 600. My par bounces around, but it's usually close to 2,000. Um, I forgot to actually write my par on here. I'm trying to remember back to my last reading, but I'm pretty sure it's usually close to 2,000. Um, and so in a 2x4, you could, if you break that down, you could easily run 450 watts. I mean, with your mushrooms in there, and I think you could probably run a little bit more if you're really trying to blast it in there. You need to get some exhale, so some exhaust, so the air doesn't get too warm in there. You can get that in and out and get your CO2 raining down. Um, and so off that 450 watts, we're talking about gram per watt. This whole thing's about weight. So LED. Let's start with HPS because that's what people used to have. That's what people used to go to, and we can talk about the difference with LED, and you can see why everybody went to LED. When I was at the shop and I was running HPS, what it seemed like 1 gram per watt, people were very happy with. That was really what a lot of gardeners were around. 1.3 grams per watt was what the people were smashing at.
Wow.
And that's, I mean, so if you think about that 450 watts, 1.3 grams per watt, just off the top of my head, holding my maths right on this, but it's like 600 grams. And so 600 grams is close to 600 grams. That's like, pound and under a pound and a half, pound and a quarter.
So 1.3 grams per watt times 450 watts, you said, right?
Yeah.
It's 585 grams.
585 grams. So
you're right there. You're right there.
Pound and a quarter pound.
Yeah.
Off of that 110, and that's not bad. But then you go to LED, and what we were seeing in the shop, and granted too, this was like 3 years ago. So these LED doesn't seem like they're getting, like, they kind of plateaued for a second on how great they were getting. We're understanding spectrum more the last few years, but the LEDs themselves have stayed pretty similar as far as like which ones people are using.
You see a lot of that advertising, full spectrum lighting. Now, that's the big word you see on all the new lights. Full spectrum. You need that full spectrum light.
Yes, that is. And you know what? It's not only nice, the plant doesn't only love it, but it's really easy to look at your plants and like be like, oh, that's a little yellow and stuff like that. But anyway, LED. A good LED runs about 1.5 grams per watt. So that's above a great HPS run. And a great LED run is about 1.8. I've heard people say they get better. That's my experience, and that's from what I've heard at the shop, at like the shop I worked at. I've heard people online and seen all this and seen all that, and you just never know with that. People getting way more than that. You just never know. But from my personal experience and the people around me and standing in front of me and talking about plants and going over weight and power and helping people out with their gardens, the LED was like the 1.5 to 1.8 for like good to great.
That's good, man. For a little home grow. That's good. If you're doing 1 point, that's what I think I'm getting. Like I said, this last grow, I got three OZs dried. I was happy as hell.
Yeah. It's when you talk about, it's almost like a double-edged sword, right? Because it's like a lot of these states have such ridiculous plant laws. And it's like, okay, but also with 5 plants, you can smash.
Yeah.
You get 5 plants in 5 2x4 tents and get a pound of plant and do that 5 times a year, and all of a sudden you're legally growing 25 pounds.
And you're banging.
Don't get me wrong.
And your friends love you.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. That is hard to do. That's a big job. That is not what 99.9% of people are doing. I don't think license or like at 5 plants are sufficient. You can't hunt medicines. You can't find the things that help you. You can't say, hey, I really like this strain. Now I'm going to go through 100 of them and find the one that is really, really good for me. Like, and that's the biggest benefit of this plant to me. Everybody takes it differently. So how are you going to find the plant? Even when you're working with a caregiver, you can't expect that caregiver to go through hundreds of plants just for you. And then you sit down and you try hundreds, you know what I mean? Like, you have to do that. And you can't even do that legally. You can't even it's hard to do that legally with 72 plants. You cannot do that with 5. So, and that's what it is. It's the law is placed there. It's everybody's so scared of being like, oh, they're going to grow all this, going to grow all that. And really what it should be is, oh, they can't grow this much and they can't grow that much. Like, they can't get the full benefit of this medicine. But,
I've had some buddies that have grown outdoors here and 5 plants, and they've gotten fucking monster, like 10 feet, 8 feet tall plants with just buds coming all over the friggin' place. And by like the third plant they were tired of cutting.
Outside, we've said it before. You just try to
Oh,
make it like outside. Those plants know how to thrive in the sun.
yeah, my buddy, he got like a ridiculous amount off of all of his plants, and he goes, "I was done by the third plant." He goes, "I didn't even want to cut anymore. I was just cutting branches and drying and just giving the whole branch to people because he was done."
Yeah, come pick it up.
I mean, if you're doing it by yourself with no help, and you got 5 monster plants that are all 8 to 10 feet tall, and you got like buds that are like growing like this and all, and you got like
Yeah,
just fucking all over the place. I mean, after a
you
while,
got
if you're by
weed in your
yourself,
hair by then.
yeah.
Weeds all in your hair, all down your back from trimming the effing plants. Huh.
Yeah, it's when he told me he did that. I was laughing. I'm like, dude, who cares, man? You got you. I mean, how much weed can you actually smoke? I mean, it's five plants. You probably. He goes, dude, I got like off the 3 I cut, I got like 5 pounds. I was like, damn, that's a lot of fucking weight right there. He goes, yeah, it's just insane. And he goes, I didn't know what to do with it all. I was like,
Yeah.
I said, I know what I would have done with it, bathed in it every night.
Throwing that extra on a bonfire and just stood over the top of it.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah, something. If you ain't gonna smoke it, burn it, and just do what you gotta do. That's a lot of weight, man, for somebody to go out doing by yourself. You know, it's not easy. I mean, I mean, we talk a lot, so I know how much you work. You know, but I mean, 5 monsters that are just like at a point you're just like, what am I gonna do with this all? And just
And
Megan
they come
walking
down at
around.
the same exact time.
Yeah, imagine
Yeah,
someone walking up to you going with a big stalk like this with a big bud going, here, this is for you. Happy birthday, and walk away.
Thanks, guys. Hey,
Oh, shit.
that's the beauty of the plant, baby. We should all
It's
be having
fucking,
those
yeah, that's what
9 footers
I'm
and
saying.
sharing them.
Free the plant, baby. So
Yeah.
what also does it depend on?
So we're talking about we're talking about weight. We've gone over VPD and other episodes. Get your VPD in order. Get your CO2 to par in order. Go over that Bruce Bugby video that we talked about. It's fantastic. And you're gonna be really smashing. If you can get your numbers in there, you're gonna be smashing weight. And if you can get your air moving, you're gonna be smashing weight. Um, to me, we went over all the information. The easiest way for me to do this is to write it down. When I'm getting a new garden going, a new area, even starting like if I get a new dehue or almost anything, I'm writing things down. You have to write things down. You have to keep. It doesn't have to be a daily, super detailed journal, but write down what you fed, when you fed. Write down, if you notice humidity spikes,
So easy.
they make so much cool technology.
Just all it is, all I have here is, hold on, in my notes on my phone, just my grow journal. And I just write down, when I do something to it, just the date. I don't put the time, the date, and when I'm in a flow, and that's what I do right there. It's just all on my phone. It takes 2 minutes. And what I do is I do February 12th, 2023. Was when I started the last grow. I wrote down who the seed company was, what strain I was doing, when I put the seeds in the water, to get it to, get the crack a little bit. When I germinated, how many germinated. But dude, it's just germination seed and paper towel, just to remind me on 2/14, so I can keep track of the date on
100%.
timeline wise and what I have to do. And then, like I said, planted the seeds. Maybe I might put the soil, different soils I put in there, just so a reminder because I've changed soil so many times. Now it's like, okay, I found the soil that I like, and then what nutrients I'm going to use throughout the whole run. And then I just go on 2/21, I watered. On 2/26, I watered. Oh, I flipped it to veg. 3/1, watered. Switched it to a 3-gallon pot. Went from the cup to the 3-gallon mixture, and then I mixed cocoa. That's all I do. And it's so simple. So simple. I mean, like I said, it's all I do. It's not very hard.
It's everything, because you can go back to that. You say, man, this plant was a little big, and you want to grow that same cultivar again. And you can say, okay, well, I gave it 3 weeks in veg last time, or 4 or 5 weeks in veg last time. I'm only going to give it 3 this time. And you can grow your perfect growth. I mean, that's how you do it. Gardeners, great gardeners, aren't necessarily the ones that know everything about the plant. They're the ones that know their garden. They're the ones that can predict problems. They're the ones that can say it's raining outside, and I know my whatever isn't going to work well, and I'm going to have to, in the morning, I'm going to get up and I'm going to open that tent up and I'm going to get some air moving out, and that's just what it is. And it's hard to get to that point if you're not writing things down and going back over them and being like, oh wait, last time, okay, yeah, I got to do this. I'm going to change my watering to this time and try to get some of that humidity out of there. Whatever it's gonna be. But it starts with writing it down. So,
Yeah.
it's, and so we went over quantity, which was some old information, some new information, hopefully tied together and help some people. But it really doesn't matter, right? If it's not good, if you're
Quality,
like, hey,
baby. What do they
yeah,
say? Quality over quantity.
all
Quality over quantity.
day.
I want quality weed. Unless you're just fucking growing weed to sell it, and you don't care what it's like, and you just fucking want to grow, as much as you can, or you don't really care about your quality. But man, let me tell you something. When you get to that point where the fucking quality really matters, and you understand it better, when you finally get the fucking like the terps that you're looking for, the taste and the flavor you're looking for, the overall look of the bud, also the effects you're going to get from the high that you're looking to grow. That's when you're getting that fucking quality you want, Also, we always talk about what is to get good quality is buying what? Good genetics, right?
100%.
Good
Yeah.
genetics,
That's how it starts. That's the very beginning. No, that's 100%. And it's, I think that there's a lot of people that maybe haven't had really great quality flower. Because to me, I've had a lot of great waxes, a lot of great extracts, a lot of great everything in weed. And I'm not knocking anything with anybody, but the perfectly delicious flower, especially when it's like hunted through and you can see sisters' expressions, and you get that one plant where you're like, oh, it's so delicious and just so much better for me. Like to be able to roll a joint of that and then a joint of something else and go back to that and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get that chem or cheese or whatever back in my life. And so if you can grow 20 pounds in a 2x4, that's awesome. But if it's hay nastiness, nobody's gonna want to. We're not gonna be able to get rid of it. It's not. It's gonna be, there's two different ways.
You'll be able to get rid of it. It just all
Yeah,
depends on who's buying it. There's
sure,
people out
sure.
there. There's some people out there that don't care about the quality. They just fucking want. If it's getting them high, that's all they care about. You're gonna sell it. Don't get me wrong, but when you get to that connoisseur kind of stage of cannabis, and you really understand the plant and the flavors and the smell and the esters and the flavonoids and everything else that comes around it, when you really understand it, it takes you to a different level of smoking.
It's an art.
Yeah.
It's an art because it's like, somebody, not only it goes all the way to the genetics, like you said. It's the genetics. Somebody selected this plant out of all the other plants of this genetics. Somebody selected this plant. Then somebody grew it to perfection. Then somebody cut that down and dried it to perfection. And then since then, somebody has been curing it and burping it every single day. Like literally every single day. Somebody has been, and so when you get that kind of love into something, like it's a real thing for me. It's a real thing. Like when somebody has been burping their fucking weed.
Yeah, if I had time to talk about burping weed, I'll tell you what the fuck happened to me last night. Oh man, Big Earl and I were talking. So I got a new little dabby fun thing, fucking rig, and Mrs. Weedman and I, and I've been wanting one for a while. I'm not even gonna give the name of it, but I'm not. I like the torch, but it's just Mrs. Weedman doesn't. So I got a little fucking electronic, cool little gadget gizmo thingy, and we were ripping dabs all weekend. And last night Big Earl and I had a podcast practice, and I was ripping them from before we talked to like throughout the podcast practice, and I'd forgotten to open my jars to burp them. Forgot totally. So it was like 10:30 at night. I'm stony baloney, ready for bed now. Edible is just about to kick in, about to take the rig up to bed and do another dab or two before fucking sleep. And I come down in the morning and my fucking jars were all still open. I was like, motherfucker. I walked downstairs going, the fucking studio smells. It always smells like weed. But I'm like, dude, it smells fucking like straight up gas is fucking turned on, man. I'm like, what the fuck? And I look over, I'm like, oh, you fucking stony baloney motherfucker, you idiot, man. I was so pissed. I went over to him, I touched them, I felt them. They weren't dried out or anything like that. I mean, it smelled. They still had a good smell, but it's like, all right. I was so mad at myself though. I was like, fuck, I can't wait to tell Big Earl this today. Because we were talking, I was pretty baked last night. We were doing the podcast practice, dude. I was baked. You were talking to me at some points, man. I was faded for a minute, and I was like zoning out, looking at the screen at our notes, going, "What the fuck is EC again? What the fuck is this?" And I kept on asking you. I'm like, I was so fucking.
Dabs will ruin your life, bro.
Well, because it's so easy. I mean, usually, like when doing the rig with the torch, I mean, I don't. I hit it, but it's like I was never really good at it. You know, I do it, but I just this is a fucking another level, man. I mean, this is like push the button twice, it lights up really cool, like disco-y and shit like that, and then fucking gives you a little vibration. Woo! It gives you a little vibration when it's fucking done. And dude, you just fucking take the little fucking joystick thingy, fucking controller thingy, and you put it around a circle and you fucking rip this thing. Oh man. It was easy to clean. It was easy to fucking. I didn't have to worry about fucking doing the pose like Hummingbird was doing when he was torching out and shit like that. I don't have to worry about any of that, dude. It's just pup. Good.
Like give me saying puff away.
But dude, that's the that's the scary part about it because it's so easy. And dude, it's just like I'm fucking 3 or 4 rips, dude, and fucking whacked, like feeling great, no pain. I'm like, oh, this is too easy, you know.
The technology is getting wild nice, and I can't take anything away from that because it's so terpy, and it gets you so high, and it's such a good feeling. But there's just, for me, there's something about that flower that's just like, I can get like a nice joint. It's like a nice.
Oh yeah, there'll be nothing but the flower. I'm a flower, you know that, man. Flower power king. But it was just fun. It's just fun to do some dabs. And we were talking. I'm like, I'm just dabbing on the weekends because if I do this shit during the week, I ain't going anywhere.
Ain't real fast.
I'm gonna take this with me everywhere I go. Because it's a little travel case, dude. It's like this big, a little travel case. I'm like, this fucking thing is dangerous. So real quick though. What is quality to us? We talk about feeling, right?
I think that's number one.
That's number one, right? Feeling,
like how it makes you feel, what it does for you.
Yeah, the effect, right? The way it makes me feel when I smoke it. Like, do I feel good? My ailments feel nice? Like, I need my bad back problem. Does it make me happy? Does it make me think too much? Does it make me frustrated? Do I get aggravated? Do I some strange, you think too much and all of a sudden you should get aggravated with your fucking self and you start talking to yourself going, well, fuck you, man. No, fuck you. And then you get mad at yourself, right? So it's that feeling of how that bud, it's that feeling of how that bud makes you feel. Then flavor. That's like the number 2 with most of you pollen chuckers, and you're looking for that cultivar that's going to give you that banging flavor. You're right. And and then you got me. I love the smell. I taste through my olfactory glands. I don't, like I told you, I've fucking got shitty taste buds. So so to me is important. Smell-o-vision. Smell. What am I smelling? That's going to determine whether my body likes that strain or not. Right.
Yeah. And then, you can get a smell without actually having to consume the medicine. So it's kind of a way to, shop. You don't know how it's going to make you feel. You don't know how it's going to taste. You can have an idea though with the smell.
Right. And then we talk about smooth smoke. We want smooth. You don't want, and that determines on your flushed, right? When you flush your weed, right?
That's what a lot of people talk shit on flushing. We've already talked about it. I think it's organics to salts. If you're running straight 100% organic, you probably don't have to flush. If you have a huge salt buildup, don't flush and let me know how it goes. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
And then how you're drying it and curing it right is going to get you that smooth smoke. Now, I had read this years ago. Is it 100% true that for a smooth smoke, that when it's totally ash white, That means you know you got all the nutrients out of it. You know when you that's what I've read, and I've heard that years ago, even before I started the show. But then when I started researching more, everyone says when you cured it right and you dried it right and you got all the nutrients out and you flushed it out correctly, or if you don't flush it out, if you use organics, you're gonna have that white ash, and that's what you look
Yeah.
for when you're smoking it. Now, like I said, that's what I've read. I don't know if it's 100% true or not.
So I think that there is a miscommunication there a little bit, not with what you're saying, but with how people talk. Because I think some people call it white ash, and some people are like, "Well, no, it's not white; it's gray." I think it's it really is a more gray usually, but you call it the white ash. And all I can say there, because there is a lot of, we can't pretend that we really know anything about anything unless it comes out, all scientifically backed fucking, and still then we really don't know um, full context of a lot of this. But for me, when I have not, there have been times, where I've like, you notice a couple of bananas popping out on a plant. I hunt a lot of seeds. When I notice bananas, I chop. So there have been times, and I have a different tent outside my flower room. I very rarely get caught with bananas. But they do pop up, and I just know I'm not going to use that lineage. I'm certainly not going to grow that plant again, but I might grow a winter there another couple of times, but I'm not using that lineage no matter how good it is because I'm not progressing that herm. I don't test enough seeds to be like, hey, these aren't going to herm at all. And so the best way for me to make sure that people buying my seeds aren't going to get hermed plants is to say I'm never working with anything that shows that. But yeah, I think that that's a pretty good indication. I think also though, this because I've seen straight white weed ash. I think the gray is better than straight white, and I've heard people talk about how terpenes and different things don't actually burn straight white. And I think that's where that's coming from. Is that a lot of times
Gotcha.
those really high flavors and the really high cannabinoid contents don't burn straight white, and so that's why a lot of times we get that light gray ash.
Okay.
But also, if you smoke a blunt, that's all just combustion. If you're smoking something way hot, like if you're smoking a really fat joint and it's burning a little hotter, or you're smoking a blunt where the tobacco burns hotter than a paper, a blunt's almost always going to smoke super white. That's just because it's burning warmer. And
Right.
so sometimes I see these people be like, "Oh, the whitest weed I ever smoked was so shitty, this or that," and it's like, without knowing the full context of that story, if you're smoking out of a blunt that's burning hotter, you could have some very, what would burn very dark in a joint burn white in a blunt or in a bowl. If you roast the shit out of it, and you're like, it's white ash. Like fuck, all the piece of wood in there, it's gonna go white eventually. Like, that's what I'm just saying.
Right. No, I got you. I
But
got you. Because yeah, I think you're right on that too. Looking at when you look at your bowl too, it isn't pure white. It's got that grayish white color.
yeah,
Yeah, I
well,
get it. I've
joint,
heard everyone call it white ash though. They don't call it gray ash. They
agreed,
call it white ash. Yeah. So
agreed.
what
But some
color and
people are like,
image?
no,
Oh,
not white. You want a little color, and it's like, well, wait, are they calling this? Is this actually a gray ash? And is this eggshell
right.
white? Or whatever. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think
No,
we just
no, I feel you. Color and image. Color's an image of the plant, right? And what do you mean by image?
just how it looks. Just because something's purple doesn't mean it's fire. Just because something has a lot of color doesn't mean it's fire. People do weird stuff, man. You can remediate weed. You can do weird shit and different, especially if you're so. One good thing about the legal market is they do actually test the weed, so you're not getting some stuff. When you're going through the home grow, you really need to know that person or trust that person to know to say, hey, I'm pretty sure. So it never hurts to ask. If somebody's
Yeah.
growing organically or really cares about their plants, they're going to be pretty excited to talk with somebody about it, especially if you value that. So when somebody's like, "Oh, you're organic or anything," to me, I'm like, "Yes," And I don't grow full organic, but I talk to them about what I do to organically and my organic pesticides and why I think they're superior. And as long as somebody's going to listen to me, I'm probably going to talk to them about
Sweet.
it. And
Here, what
sorry,
about no. So this is something we've never talked about before, and I'm super stoked. how to determine your money in per pound or ounce for dry flour. This is big. This is for all you home growers out there wondering, like, basically, like, what it's going to cost, like, what it should cost you versus like
Yeah.
your yield and everything like that. And just like, it's pretty cool that because Big Earl's been doing this for a while, he has it dialed in because it's his business that he does as a caregiver. So he has this dialed down to like what kind of money, will be spent or you can make or whatever, or what it's basically like what your yield is based off of money. Kind of cool. I
Yeah.
love it. Teach me, Big Earl.
I mean, it's a quite. I mean, it's hard to get into it not knowing. How much is this going to cost? How much am I going to get? And really the answer is up to you. The more you put in, but also I don't know the depths on the like extraction side, but I've been told if you have a good washer, something that can hit like a GMO, I've been told GMO hits 5 to 6%. Again, I don't wash. I don't have anybody wash any of my stuff. When I take my trim and stuff, I do just random edibles and different random stuff. Sometimes it might go to like a BHO type thing, but not like the live rosin or anything like that. But I've heard that you can get more value by getting that fresh rosin, that fresh press, that frozen. Um, so this can be a little jumping off for that too. If you're planning, somebody that can run a good extraction, and you say, well, I can do a little bit better than this even. But so when I was at the shop, I know we talked about it. I was at a shop for like 6 years. I think it was 7 years. And it was a badass grow shop. Everybody there had been there for a while. Everybody had been growing gardens for a while. Our customers like expected us to be super knowledgeable. Um, it was like a shop environment, like tons of harassing, tons of inappropriateness. It was a super fun time. But the whole the whole dude, it was especially. I think it was the only since we were a garden center over COVID, we were considered vital, and so like, but nobody could come
Essential,
in.
baby. You were
Oh, bro,
considered essential.
we were essential, an essential weed shop. When some places you go to jail for a joint, and we were an essential weed shop, just selling grow equipment. But since it was for garden stuff, and what we do is we push stuff out. Since we could push stuff out, we were able to smoke there, bro. It was like game over. I was ready to pick up shifts. Just sit behind the counter, take calls, had a few blunts rolled up. I'd cough and I'd say, that's not a COVID cough, but like nobody found it funny, but I don't know, stupid story. But there, what they would say, the word there was every 1,000 watts of HPS, you're spending about $100. That's not just the light, and that is flowering, right? So in veg, you don't use as much wattage, but they generally just kind of think of it the same. But you definitely, 1,000 watts at 1212 is about $100 a month. For me personally, that was a little low. I do have, a DHU, a couple DHUs, and an AC dedicated to it, and I have my house on it also. So that line is a little blurry. Um, but I saw about a 20% drop in my electricity bill. And since my house stuff was on there, I think it would be pretty accurate to say at least a 25% drop than we'd be seeing in just the garden bill, assuming that full 20% drop of the entire bill was all from my garden. Because we all know that can change month by month too. A wet month for somebody with a basement and a DHU can be an expensive month. So I'm just saying. But the reason it went down when I went to LED, not that that matters much. We're talking about price, but more of the light can be absorbed by the plant. You don't lose light to heat in the reflection or the reflector. And so that is really why we see LEDs be cheaper. It's not necessarily that they are more efficient, although I think with their spectrum being able to be dialed in, they probably are way more efficient now. But it's more so that we're not losing our light and converting it to heat in our reflector. So if you were running 1,000 watts of LED, I think you'd probably be looking at like a $75 to $85 per month bill. And this is not just the light, by the way. This is running like, a fan, and it's on average. So if you're running a DHU, it might be a little bit more than that. If you don't have to run anything extra really, and it's just sitting there, it might be a little less than that. I think that's pretty low, though. I don't think you're going to get much less than that. So, like you said, we're going over this because it's really hard to know. Like, how much does this cost? You had your
Yeah.
bill, and next month it went up $120, and it's like, okay, well, next month we also had it was the hottest month, and so was that going up $80? Was that a whole 120 from there? Like, where is this going at?
Right.
Or if you're just getting started, right? Like you can say, hey, I'm gonna do it with this tent. I'm gonna put 500 watts in here. I'm gonna expect my bill to go up $60, $70, whatever. And it's not gonna be the end of the world. Like that's not a huge thing usually. Um, Also, there are some places have hot spots or hot times a day where prices of electricity are like 1.5 times higher. So be aware of that if you have that, because it's usually from.
Especially last week when it was fucking 1,000 degrees outside. Holy smokes! And everyone's energy bill goes up because everyone's
Yeah,
keeping their air conditioner at 69 or 70. Unless your Mrs. Weedman, she keeps our house at 74 all the time. But that's her because she's always cold. But like I said, but it's going to fluctuate. Sometimes in the wintertime too, if you're growing in the winter and it gets really cold out and someone's really cold in the house, they're going to move that up, which fucks up your whole grow because it dries your fucking house out. So, someone might be a little colder and put it at 73 in the winter. So you got to think it's fluctuating too because the way you run your household too. So I mean you got to look at the ebbs and flows of how the temperature goes. Like you might get some great months like right now, like right now it's like 80 degrees outside and 69 at night, and you don't need to run your shit that much. Open up a window, it's beautiful out,
yeah,
at night, and that'll keep your tent at a pretty good. I've seen that where my tent stays at a pretty good. When I just have the windows open, my tent runs fucking on fuego. Like it runs,
cool.
yeah. So when it's like 70 degrees outside, man, boom, banging. The house is just
Yeah,
perfect. And then the tent is just running perfect. So it just all depends on that ebb and flow. But I'm going to let Big Earl finish this because I want to explain something about why I'm looking at these numbers and how much money I'm saving every year, though.
yeah. Well, and that's awesome. There's no better feeling than like looking at like going through the garden and being like, my shit's on fucking fleek,
Yeah.
bro. So yeah, so you can expect you're starting a tent with a 450 watts, 2x4 tent, 450 watts. Got a couple fans in there, maybe a fan outside there, maybe an inline fan in there too. Whatever you're doing, going to a little carbon filter, keeping your negative flow right, keeping the smell out of the house. You got shit perfect, or you want shit perfect. It's not gonna be $1 million a month. I mean, you can yield out of a tent if you run it from seed all the way through in 3.5 months. You can definitely get 3 yields a year. If you keep 2 tents, you can do a veg tent. You can get 5, 6 if you keep 8, and if you run 8-week cultivars and maybe throw a 9-week in there once or twice. So when you go over this, so here's the whole. So you go over how much you basically it costs per how much you spend, or sorry, how much it costs and how much you spend compared to how much weight you get, right? Like what's a price of an ounce? I got this many ounces. How much does this cost? So when I go over that, the space is number one. If it's in your house, I can see not counting that. Like I got to pay my mortgage anyway. I totally get it. If you're renting a space though, that's definitely cost, right? Like I don't think many people are in that in a little home grow, but anywhere not in a home grow, needs a space rental.
Yeah.
So that aside, the utilities we just went over it. You're probably paying about $80, maybe $90, 75, $85 for every 1,000 watts you're using. The price of somebody to help you, that can expect to. If you have really great big flowers and you can just pound through it, you can probably trim a pound nice in 4 hours. If you're going through cultivars or you have one that's not that grows lots of smaller flowers or is a little leafier, it could take you up to 8 hours to fucking trim a pound. Like, I think it's much
Big Earl
closer to
knows too. Big
that.
Earl knows.
I grow a deep canopy, but everything I have is pretty fucking. I take probably less than 10% of what I grow as far as bud form and put it to with my trim. So almost everything that grows is nice and dense and smaller. Not smaller, but even the smallers are nice and dense. So that's if somebody comes and helps you trim, and you throw them a couple ounces, it's like, well, that's money right there. That's
Mm-hmm.
if you're not selling it, I get it. This might not matter to you at all. But if you have patience, if you're figuring it out, if you're small, getting up and going, it all needs to be added in there. Because at the end of the day, if you can go buy an ounce for cheaper than you're producing it, like I get there's reasons to produce it, but it's like your time and all that going into it, that might be a reason to go buy your weed.
Yeah.
I'm not condoning that. I think everybody put a little bit of time, you get way more out of growing it. But yeah, price for help, price of your equipment. If you have a DHU, and you go looking through all your monthly things and like, oh, that DHU costs $1,000, and you have that DHU for 3 years. That's still, coming out to $30 a month or whatever that is. That's still something. Like it's not a ton, but it's still something. If you have two DHUs and AC and 6, 7 different water pumps going circulating and 5 wall fans and 6 inline fans, and if you have like a bunch of these 50-watt items added up, like the price of that shit is gonna you're gonna be replacing shit every fucking month. So yeah, price of equipment, price of help, price of equipment, and then the price of all your materials. You have to get a new medium almost every time, unless you reuse, and that's awesome if you do. New food every single time. Clean, wash down. I know that's not a ton of money, but it's still cleaner you have to buy. It's still time you have to take out of your day. And then you take all that. So your space, your utilities, any help you paid out, your equipment, any material that you have to rebuy, you compare that basically to your overall weight, and you write all that shit down. You say, okay, this grow, this 3 months, this 4 months cost me $600, $700. I got 1 pound of weed, 16 ounces of weed. The weed wasn't that good, because quantity. It's not just about quantity; it's quality. The weed wasn't that good. I had a bug problem, and I live in Michigan right now, where I can get not very good weed that had bug problems for $40 an ounce. So I can get this same quality, but pick out different flavors for cheaper than you know what I mean? I don't think many people, that's a very low number. That's very, whatever you want to call it, but it might not be worth it, but that's how you would do it, So, we can go through just so when we're talking about utilities, I mean, we already kind of went through all that. We don't need to go through all this again, I don't think.
Well, I mean, put it this way. You were saying on here, all of that rent, mortgage, power, water, all the stuff we just mentioned.
Yes.
And that price all compared to dry smokable flower. I'm telling you what, if you're going in a state and that's legal to grow, and that state is also legal to go to a dispensary, right? And grab your flower. And I understand affordability, and you just want to get high, and you're not worried about quality. $40 an ounce is very appealing to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Not gonna say it's not.
Blunts.
Yeah, if you're rolling fat blunts, you're
blunts.
not worried about taste, and you're worried. You just want that 25, 28% THC percentage. You ain't worried about nothing else because you just want to get high. Hey, that's great.
Yeah, I'm not talking shit. That's sometimes
No.
my backwoods. Sometimes like a weed that I don't love the flavor of, or I've been smoking for a while. Nice little Russian cream or something. Oh, dude, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a fucking old school fucking white grape. Fucking give me a fucking
Mm,
white owl, white fucking grape,
yeah,
dude. I'm all good. If we're going we're going old school there. But
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean, I'm from the generation of smoking Phillies. Philly blunts when I was growing up in the
yeah,
Bronx. Fucking Philly blunts was the shit. And that's what we smoked. And you were just, I mean, you couldn't taste shit, but the fucking cigar wrap,
yeah, yeah.
But you were doing it to get high. This is going back. This is a long time ago. So, but here's the conversation. If you look at it this way, in Big Earl's experience here, from what he's saying, from a few numbers and conversations he's had in some areas, super efficient, well-run legal gardens are growing their flower for around how much, Big Earl?
Around 600 pounds. I would say if you're hitting that as a large garden, in the experience that I've walked into and seen and talked, you're probably on the average. I've seen gardens do way better than that, but they're way fucking dialed in, and
Right.
they're running very well.
And here's the deal. Once you get to that point where you're growing, like you've been doing it for a while and you've mastered your way of doing it and learning and growing and mirroring maybe some other people you admire and learn from, and you come to that point where that weed is so fucking fire and you're got a little homegrown, you're getting a pound of weed, dude, you could probably get fucking $250 an ounce because it's that premium where you got some of the fucking finest genetics from some fine breeders. You have the all dialed in, and now you have this fucking shit that's just like, wow, I need some of that. You might be there one day, and you might sell a little bit of it to make up for what you spent on what it
Sure.
cost to run your home to grow that weed. So if it cost you, I mean, my whole system cost me $1,200. I've made that back fucking 4 times by now.
Amen,
Of how
man.
much,
Yeah,
yeah, how much weed I've fucking grown. And then also what I look at is I haven't gone to a fucking dispensary and bought flower in fucking 3 years. Now I have
yeah,
people fucking give me weed from dispensaries and stuff like that to try and shit like that. But I haven't bought myself flower from a dispensary since I got my first grow done with weight. Why would I?
yeah,
Here in Illinois, I mean, I'm not spending fucking $40-50 a fucking eighth. What are you at? You're out of your fucking mind. An eighth cost me fucking nothing to grow. And if you look at,
yeah. Oh yeah,
if
for sure.
you know, so I mean, I'm not fucking ever. As long as I fucking can home grow, and even if I can't, I don't give a fuck. I'm doing it anyway. So with my little setup, you'll never fucking know. So I'm fucking doing it. And I'm saving myself a shit ton of money. And you cannot beat the prices because you don't have to pay for help, specialists, licenses, taxes, fucking labor, fucking rent,
No,
more, whatever. You don't have to
and
do
you know
none
exactly
of
what's
that.
going on with it.
Right. And you could see
You
from the
know.
time you fucking put that shit in the water to get it in the fucking paper towel to germ, to throw it in your fucking little solo cup, to get it in your next fucking, and you're watching, you're knowing exactly what you're putting in your water. You know exactly what you're putting in your nutrient line. If you're using organic, your soil, if you're learning how to compost too, which is a big savings. If you're learning how to fucking do that, and everything you're doing. And then it's fucking fun because you meet other people. We've been having, I mean, that's the thing. You meet other home growers and then you're trading fucking tips. You're fucking trading fucking clones if you want. You're trading some seeds. Maybe you bred a fucking one time. Like you get, hey, here's 50 seeds. Have some fun with it. I got a fucking 1,000 of them. Here's 50 for you to fucking have to buy. If you like this strain, here's 50 seeds for you. You get to that point just kind of like the home brewers did, where they're fucking brewing at people's houses, brewing beers. Everyone's fucking giving a
Yeah.
6-pack here, 6-pack there, big fucking 22s. People were sharing at the time back in the fucking 2010 to 2000, still today. But when I was, meeting people, they bring their home brew in, and fucking here's a home brew. Here's a home brew. You get like 2 or 3 home brews. Some of it was fucking okay. Some of it was good. I had some really, really good home brew. So it just depends. You're gonna have the whole thing with home growing. You're gonna have some okay weed. You're going to have some good weed. You're going to have some great weed. And you're going to have some weed that's going to fucking blow you out of the mind. And you'd be like, I need that strain. Can I get a clone? Or where'd you get those fucking, that's beans from? And you're going to go to that person and you're going to buy it. because you found a strain that you like. That's the fun of this whole fucking thing. It's supposed to be about fun. Homegrown is supposed to be about fun. You're home growing. You're learning to love the plant more than you ever did before, because now you're not just smoking it. You're learning about the whole entire beautiful fucking plant that was put on this earth for us. Right?
And I guarantee you take that somewhere else too. So many people that I know started with weed, and then it's like, well, tomatoes are really close to this.
Yeah.
Well, peppers are really close to this. Well, what about these other, this other vegetables you can do like this too? You can use the same food. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And just to put into perspective, because we talked about this, it's about 600 per pound for the big licensed guys. If you ran autoflower seeds, right, and they're popped and cut down in 80, 85 days. You flip them in that tent, 14 days. You take them out, you trim them up. That's 100 days. You can get 3 yields off of one single 2x4.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can hit somewhere close to just the good gram per watt, 1.5 gram per watt, and you're only running 300 watts in there, you're probably talking $600-700 a year in power bill, and you're clearing 3 pounds a year.
Sheesh.
So just to throw, and listen, it's not just throwing a seed in there. You have to fucking maintain this shit. It's gonna be time. It's not like you're not putting time into it either. But if the money is the important part to you, and like you're growing your own meds, if you want to smoke more than you do now, and you're at a dispensary, way cheaper financially. A 2x4 isn't going to be 40 hours a week, but it's not going to be 1 hour a week either.
No.
You're probably talking 5-6 hours a week, especially if you average in trimming.
If that, listen, yeah, you ain't, if you got a little 2x4 tent, take it from me, because I look at the plant a lot and I love to go look at it. I touch it a lot during the day, but that's just me. But if you just got an autoflower and you ran that light 18 hours and you watered it, less is more. You water it if you want to do all organic, and you're just letting that, my gosh, man, you're fucking banging. You don't have to do, Mrs. Weedman will tell you, the ones outside that we grew, not much maintenance.
Yeah, with the autoflowers.
Not much maintenance. Yeah.
You're cleaning them up a couple times in flour.
That's
maybe once or twice in veg. And really, other than that, like you said, the watering. But throwing and trimming, that's the big thing. If you're doing a pound every time, you're probably looking at an 8-hour shift to trim that tent. But that's just a single, it's just a Saturday.
Yeah, man. Throw out some good tunes, light up a fucking joint, and have some fucking fun and enjoy it. That ain't work to me. That's Zen time. That's relaxation to me. Big Earl, you have a nice operation. You're a caregiver. You got a lot of work to do. But for a home grower like myself, that's Zen time for me, where I'm just going, no one's bugging me in the back of my basement. No one's fucking coming back there. Yuki, that's about it. Come and checking on Mr. Weedman, see how he's doing, give a little nudge. But dude, I'm back there looking at that plant, throwing some music on, having a good fucking time, listening, learning, just fucking looking at the beauty of this, looking around my tent, seeing if there's anything going on with it I need to fix, whatever. But that's relaxation to me. And if it's not to you and you're looking at it more like a job and you're getting stressed, take a break from it. Because I don't want, no, that's not what it's supposed to be. And there's going to be a lot, probably just like homebrew equipment. Eventually, there's probably going to be a lot of fucking equipment for sale because people just did it once or twice and goes like, I didn't get anything. This sucks. I'm done. No, do not do that. You're going to fuck up. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to get something. No, keep on pressing forward. Keep on learning. Keep on growing. Keep on just fucking throwing a seed in the fucking shit and fucking let it sprout up and see what you get. Just go and do it. Don't fucking give up. Do not.
Follow
if you're,
watch drops. Watch what people say about. It's just fun. It's just fun.
It's just nice. We have a good little group chat going on our with a bunch of, we call it the Vipers page now. And if you want to join up, just fucking shoot me a DM. I'll introduce you. A lot of growers on there now and breeders on there now. We've had a lot of fun, a lot of ball busting going on and memes and stuff, but just people like you know, we have like Alabrije, Hummingbird, you, Mike from Straight A on there now. Some really good breeders and growers, and people are sharing their picks and shit and talking. And it's just been a good social community of just people getting like to learn, you know. And that's why I started that page. But just also to fucking see what people are smoking too is kind of fun. But it's just getting some groups. There's Discords out there that people are going on Discords and starting these Discord chats, and they're teaching people how to grow. There's plenty of stuff on YouTube. The one thing is that you're gonna fuck up. You're not always gonna have the best fucking grow. You're gonna get frustrated at times, but don't take a breath. If you got to take a break for like I always give myself a good break. So after I get done with a grow, I take usually like 2 or 3 weeks off because I can. Okay. I'm not doing this for a living. I'm doing this because I love it. It's a passion. So I give like 2 or 3 weeks off because it's just like, I got my few ounces. I got fucking 20 ounces in the fucking jars. I could take a break and relax a little bit and just give my mind a break, clarity of not having to always have to focus, and give my like a little vacay. And then all of a sudden I'm ready to go again. It's 3 or 4 weeks. It's been a month. I'm like, all right, time to get those seeds fucking germinated, because it's a habit now and I want to do it. So it's like, okay, I miss growing. All right, right back into it. You know, I know that timing of when it's like been like, all right, I'm ready to go. And Mr. Weedman's like, really? You ready to go again? I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm ready to go. I give myself a break. It's good because we're going to just run the next fucking 90, 120 days. So it's game on between you and I watching my plant when I have to go out of town for work or some shit like that. So yeah, just don't quit. Take a break. Step back. Do some research. Ask questions.
There's always ways around shit. There's
always ways.
You got to be out of town for a week at a time. There are timers. There are reservoirs. There are larger pots. There is vermiculite. It holds on to water like a motherfucker.
Find your fucking little brother or sister. Find your little brother or sister or cousin or nephew or fucking anybody and say, hey, listen, I need you to come watch my plants every other day. Just come by, check on it, make sure they're good. I'll leave all instructions. I've done that. It's kind of nerve-wracking sometimes, but you know what? If you teach them, then they're going to want to learn how to home grow, and they're going to know the thing, and you have a little communal thing going on. So when he goes out of town or she goes out of town or that person goes out of town or human being goes out of town, you can watch their plant. And then it just comes a little community thing. That's how it all starts. And then you have fun, you know? Big Earl, sorry we didn't get to cloning, but we'll talk about it sometime soon. I want to hear all about your new cloning techniques. I'm stoked. Sorry about that, brother.
Hey, no, that's it's gonna be a good filler because it's not a lot, but it's gonna be a good filler. It was a great talk, dude. I hope we filled a lot of stuff in.
I enjoyed it.
About before, but hopefully that cleared some stuff up for somebody thinking about starting, somebody wondering where they're at. If you ever had any questions, you know, or there's something we left out, holler at any of us. We love helping people grow. The best meds that they can.
That's it. It's all about the medicine. Big Earl, man, always a great show. Always a pleasure doing this with you. You got anything else to say?
Well, we didn't bring it up, but don't forget to throw the money when you're talking about like your rent, your mortgage, your power, your water, your weight. ACDHU, the CalMag, guys. You need so much CalMag.
Hey, everybody out there in the world, we love you. Don't forget the CalMag. Peace! Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.